This little Q&A cut will only be about Zeke. We have so many already in the comments section, so just make sure you use the hashtag Zeke. That is how producer Alicia will find them here on the show. And oh, by the way, I also want to quickly shout out Dallas21419, who says, release Zeke and sign Tom Downey. Terrible idea. Last time I played halfback, I got a concussion. So probably not the route that you want to go there if you're the Cowboys. Let's get to our first one here from David Powers. He says, trade Zeke to the Raiders for Carl Joseph and a first and a fifth round pick. We mentioned that other Raiders trade package earlier. This one is a little bit more palatable for Oakland. Here's my question, David. And I think it's one we'll repeat a lot here. What do you do if at the running back position? Who do you run the ball with? Pollard and Mike Weber and Darius Jackson? I don't think that's the best idea there for the Cowboys. So I'm intrigued by any and all trades, but my number one priority is not long-term. It is this season when I want to win. All right, next up from Barrett B49, he says, what could we get for Zeke if we trade him to any team? You know, I'm not sure. There's no doubt that Zeke is one of, if not just the outright best running back in the NFL. But if you're the Cowboys trading him right now, you're probably going to want a running back in exchange. That would reduce any pick value there. I'll tell you what it's not going to be. It's really not going to be a Herschel Walker type trade package. That's just not going to happen in the NFL anymore. You're not going to find a way to get 3 firsts and 3 seconds and other picks too. That's just not how it's going to be. And Captain Sandyhook has a very similar question there about what kind of haul you get from Zeke. I would say in the end it's some type of decent to good to above average running back if you were to actually, which I don't think happens, plus picks, plural. I don't know what those picks are. A lot of it depends on what teams want a running back and what team really wants to, trade for Zeke, give up draft capital, and then pay him. This is not like the NBA. You don't see these blockbuster trades. It's just nowhere near as common as it is in, say, the NBA. Mr. Worldwide Traveler says, are these guys that are saying trade Zeke idiots? I'm not going to call them idiots, no. It is a nuanced conversation. I don't think it's black and white. There are arguments pro and con on both sides of things. The biggest problem I have with trading away Elliott is I don't think this makes you better this year. I'm down to have a little bit more in-depth and really consider it next year, but with where we are in the NFL calendar, I know that maybe Zeke's value is pretty high. I'm not convinced you'd actually get max value for him, especially just coming off yet another off-the-field incident. All right, Kevin Cobb wants to know how many years does Zeke have? I assume you mean on his contract. He's got 2 years left. He's got this upcoming year at a little over $3 million, and then his 5th-year option at a little over 9, I think is the exact number there. So there's plenty of time left for the Cowboys to extend Zeke. That's also why they have the leverage. You've got 2 years left on your contract, Zeke. We got other guys we have to pay before you. Now, in terms of the overall value for Zeke, it's going to be expensive. Todd Gurley gets 14.4. I know Florio threw out the $10 million he'll sign. Doesn't make any sense at all. That was just a randomly plucked number because it's more than he makes in his 5th year. It's not going to be that cheap. If Zeke signed for $10 million right now, heck, 11 or 12, I'd do it right now. I would do it in an absolute heartbeat, and I say, done deal. Let's go. But Zeke wants more than that because he's not an idiot. Plain and simple. All right, next up from Haim Etery. If it comes down to a trade, which it probably won't, but if it does, which I think is fair, where is your most likely destination? I honestly haven't thought about it. No, definitely not in the NFC East. The Cowboys wouldn't do that. They probably, if they could prefer, they definitely prefer an AFC team. I don't know if that would be like a likely outcome there, but I think they prefer that. The Jets are fine. Bills are probably fine. The Dolphins aren't in contending mode right now. Jeez, I don't know. Maybe Houston? I don't know if Jerry would like trading him in the same state, but Houston kind of makes some sense to me. Maybe Jacksonville, one of the AFC South teams? I'm just kind of spitballing there. I don't know what the ideal scenario is because teams that needed a back just drafted some. That's another big reason why the timing isn't quite right for Zeke. All right, guys, do you like the Cowboys report? Let us know in the comment section. I assume we're going to see a bunch of Ys. You're all watching right now. So if you do like it, make sure you are subscribed. The link is at the bottom of your screen, but you don't need it if you're watching on YouTube, right? Just hit that big red subscribe button. Some shout-outs here. Brian, Jonas, 2K Live, Dallas Cowboys 5-1, Mr. Broward County, no county, I had it right first time. NFC East Hub, often John, like 4 different Johns in there. All type in Y. We appreciate it, guys, for you watching all the time. Some more Zeke questions here. Next up from Andrew Garcia. What kind of extension would you give Zeke? We did do an extension video in the past. In reality, it starts and ends with the Todd Gurley deal. You have to go above Gurley, probably factor into the salary cap inflation too. That's a lot. And I've seen plenty of comments about how the Rams ran the football so well, you have to have a good running game. The Rams also got pretty similar production out of C.J. Anderson, who got cut by the Raiders. So I don't know if pointing out you have to pay him like Gurley is actually necessarily an ideal argument in favor of paying Zeke, because the Rams did it with a guy they signed off the free agent market there. All right, Cowboy CRUNK, what free agent running back could we pick up to at least make Zeke look over his shoulder a little or push him to sign? Here's the issue. The answer is probably Jay Ajayi, but does Zeke worry about Jay at all? I don't think so. I think he goes, oh, look, you signed the backup who wasn't signed before me. I think the reality is that if your goal to get Zeke to sign is to say, oh, we're going to have some competition for you, there is no competition. The competition for Zeke is Christian McCaffrey, Todd Gurley, Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara. That's the competition, not Tony Pollard or whatever free agent on the open market there is out there right now. Brian Curry says, what is the over-under on touchdowns for Zeke this year? I assume you want to include receiving touchdowns. I think is probably the fairest way to go about that there. Over the past couple years, Zeke's touchdowns have actually declined more than you would think. He had 16 in year 1, he had 9 in year 2, and 9 in year 3. Of course, he did miss the games in year 2. So I'll put the over-under at 10.5. I'll go a little bit on the higher side there because hopefully the Cowboys' red zone offense looks a little bit more effective. So, of course, he's a rushing only. I factor in the receiving in there as well. I'll go over under 10.5. And I say that, of course, as an Ezekiel Elliott Dynasty fantasy owner, and I hope he hits the over this time around because he was great last year. But fantasy touchdown-wise, left just a little bit more to be desired. All right, NFC East Hub with a good question here. Do you think the Gurley injury pushes the market down far enough that Zeke sniffs 13 to 12 million at best? I don't think so, because Lev Bell sat out an entire year of football and got 13 million. So I still think even with the Gurley injuries, it's still probably going to be around that price tag there, because as Stephen Jones has said, he is the drink that stirs the Cowboys offense. A guy, barrientos, says, will Zeke have chemistry with any other quarterback other than Dak? Well, yeah, he will. Like, Zeke is a transcendent talent. He'll be fine. I mean, you could throw him out there with Cooper Rush, and he'd have chemistry there. He's just not going to be necessarily, if you praise Cooper Rush as productive, because the offense and changes and defense cue him on there a little bit more there. But yeah, he'd have chemistry with other quarterbacks than Dak. Barrett B49, could Zeke have a major breakout year? If not, could we draft or trade for a running back? Well, Zeke's already had his breakout years. Like, he's been the best back in the NFL over across the past 3 seasons. Butchered that one like I kind of did apparently the drink straw thing, whatever I said earlier. But so I don't know what breakout really means in that scenario. Now, we are talking here about running backs who have off-the-field issues. So, question for you guys watching. Did OJ do it? Did he do it? Yes or no? Let me know in the comments section. Did OJ do it? I think we know the real answer here. He definitely did it. He definitely did it. The production team is surprised I brought that up. Anyway, Captain Sandyhook, he's up next here. With Zeke wanting the big bucks, do we factor in possible rushing title / TDs he could have in the future while also factoring in workload and injury? How do you balance that out? That's a great question there. And I think that's part of the argument why the NFL in general isn't as high on backs anymore. You can't ever truly replace a player of Zeke's caliber. But what you can do is save the money, find a closer to replaceable back than any other position, and save money in the process and use that money to spend on other positions. You can't replace Zeke, but running back as a whole, besides like kicker and punter, is the most replaceable position in the NFL. I'm not saying it's easy to replace Zeke, but it's easier to replace Zeke than other positions out there. And as for the workload injuries, I think Zeke's always been healthy, despite the bumps and bruises we saw last year. But workloads matter. Zeke's had a pretty hefty one, and that's why he wants to get paid, because he doesn't want to get run to the ground for the next 2 years and then be out with no big contract. Lawrence King wants to know if we can franchise Zeke twice or only once. You can technically franchise him twice. I think in reality, it'd probably be more of a this year, 5th-year option, and then a franchise tag, because it does get more expensive as it goes along. James Redimer, if they pay Zach, will that affect Amari and Dak especially? It might. If they pay Zeke before Amari and Dak and they're not getting a discount for Zeke, the agents for Dak and Amari might be like, now wait a minute. But in terms of overall cap space, you can afford to re-sign all three. That wouldn't be a big issue there in the end for Dallas. All right, Jonas Oberholzer, how many yards do you think Zeke will rush for in 2019? I'll put the over-under at 1,400. I don't think you're going to see the same volume of rushes this upcoming year for Zeke, because the Cowboys, if you want to re-sign Zeke, you have to lessen his workload. You cannot give him almost 400 touches. That's just plain and simple not going to work out in the end. Today's show brought to you guys from our friends over at MyBookie. Head over to chatsports.com/Cowboys and use that promo code GOCowboys on your screen. Only for Cowboys fans, by the way. No one else allowed to use it. Only Cowboys fans here. Chatsports.com/Cowboys. Use that promo code GOCowboys for a 100% deposit bonus. All right, last question on Zeke from Cowboy CRUNK. Okay, Dak is a 4th rounder. I know we got lucky to get him there, but Pollard is a 4th rounder and has amazing preseason. Does it affect Zeke's signing? Sure, possibly, but I think in the end, Pollard is not going to be a featured back. He's never been that in college. He's going to be a rotational back, think Lance Dunbar, which if so, still carries plenty of value there for the Dallas Cowboys. Hey Cowboys fans, thanks for watching the Cowboys Report. If you haven't already, click right here to subscribe to our channel for all the best Cowboys coverage on the internet. That's news, rumors, highlights, mailbags, film studies, and a whole lot more. And I'm making your lives a little bit easier as well with the next Cowboys Report video right here.